The Fish and Wildlife Service originated and developed from two programs created to help combat decline of the nation's fish and wildlife populations during the last portion of the 19th century. Over the last 125 years, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has worked to ease the worries of the American people concerning preservation and environmental issues. There were several events within the agency's historical timeline that had a hand in its current success. Some of the most influential actions include the first federal bird reservation established in 1903 by Theodore Roosevelt. This was also the nation's first wildlife refuge. In 1934, the Migratory Bird Hunting Stamp Act was voted in by Congress. Hunters of waterfowl are required to purchase this stamp. The agency has used the revenue generated from this stamp to purchase wetlands. Today, around 4.5 million acres of habitat has been secured. The mission statement of the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife is working with others to conserve, protect, and enhance fish, wildlife, and plants and their habitats for the continuing benefit of the American people. The main responsibilities of the agency are to provide a healthy, protected environment in which people, fish, and wildlife may coincide. Its establishment has also helped Americans observe the beauty of the outdoors and all that inhabits them.
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is housed within the U.S. Department of the Interior. Its current national director is Daniel Ash. The agency is spread across multiple regions. Each region has a director who oversees multiple assistant directors. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service manages a variety of lands, of which approximately 150 million acres are national wildlife refuges. The refuges protect big game, migratory birds, waterfowl production areas, and wetland management districts, wildlife and game ranges, and coordination areas.
There are several laws and acts that have been established over the years in accordance with preservational viewpoints that have helped protect species of plants and wildlife. Enacted in 1900, the Lacey Act was established to prohibit interstate trafficking of wildlife. The Migratory Bird Treaty Act protects almost all native North American birds. Unless permitted by state hunting regulations, it is unlawful to pursue, hunt, capture, kill, possess, sell, purchase, export, or import any migratory birds or any product of migratory birds. The Endangered Species Act of 1973, America's best-known wildlife protection law, has a preservation-based mission, protecting endangered plants and animals. The ESA currently lists 1,925 species and populations of plants and animals that are in imminent danger of extinction or which may become endangered in the near future unless preventative action is taken. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service also fights to protect marine life. The Marine Mammal Protection Act extends protection to species including whales, dolphins, seals, sea lions, walrus, manatees, sea otters, and polar bears. The biggest issue that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service faces involves the topic of invasive species. The agency fights to protect those species that lie outside of the U.S., as well as those that are invasive to other parts of the country. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is the only agency among those of the U.S. government that works to conserve the fish, wildlife, and plants across the nation. Without their help and concerns, invasive species would further damage and alter native and natural habitats, harming resources and wildlife. A bit of controversy the agency faces is the American gray wolf. Currently, the gray wolf is protected under the Endangered Species Act. The debate weighs on the decision to keep the wolves on the endangered list or delist them, turning management over to the individual states.
Turnbull, 18,217 acres of land, molded and chiseled from floods occurring during the Great Ice Age. Massive chunks of ice and other wreckage and rubble scarred the land, priming it for the many abundant marshes, lakes, prairie, and wetlands that make this National Wildlife Refuge a major amenity to eastern Washington.
Turnbull National Wildlife Refuge was set aside as a refuge for migratory birds in 1937. The mission of the refuge is to restore and maintain ecosystem processes that provide for a natural diversity of flora and fauna native to the wetland, steep and ponderosa pine communities of eastern Washington.
The scablands of Turnbull are home to many species of flora and fauna, including more than 200 types of birds and 45 types of mammals. Eastern Washington University students have access to the only existing university-run laboratory located on the National Wildlife Refuge. Turnbull Laboratory for Ecological Studies is a 4,600 square foot structure in which students can work alongside the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, examining biological processes. The refuge is also open to the public, and families can enjoy the many ADA-accessible walking trails in the park.
Turnbull offers sportsmen the opportunity to engage in fishing and hunting on its acreage. Visitors may also engage in wildlife viewing, photography, environmental education, as well as the many hiking trails the refuge offers.
Upon entering the property, we decided to head inside the refuge headquarters. There we chatted with the ranger on duty and became familiar with the land and wildlife we were about to encounter. We hiked various trails. We also made our way around several ponds. Pine lakes were full of different types of waterfowl. Trumpeter swans shared the water with many ducks and red-winged blackbirds. It was evident that we were surrounded by many different creatures living together. Even though we didn't see some of Turnbull's famous faces, there was definitely evidence that they were there. Before leaving for the day, we decided to take a trip around the Pine Creek Auto Tour route, Turnbull's own 5.5-mile loop road. This is a refreshing drive and gives visitors a good grasp of what beauty the refuge offers. As a group of stressed-out college students who are also busy outside of our studies, we found Turnbull to be the perfect elixir for stress relief. With hundreds of bird species, we enjoyed their soothing and tranquil songs. Being a few minutes from campus, it's a great little getaway. Turnbull offers a wide variety of different scenery and landscapes that allow your eye and mind to wander off, losing yourself in the meditation and soothe through nature. We admire the fact that you get a different experience each time you return. Since the property consists of so much acreage, you never know which critters you're going to bump into. Turnbull in the spring is a wonderful time to visit. Everything is starting to bloom, the fields are painted with wildflowers, and the wildlife is just beginning to enjoy playing in the sunshine. This is a very special place to venture.
Yeah.
12-year-olds have no trouble whatsoever.
That's amazing.
You know, we're just like,
I know.
look at that. You just really have to. Maybe it's all the extra germs they have on their hands.
Look, I went away here.
Thank you.
And I thought this was like a real snake there. I nearly had a heart attack. Right there.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
There's garter snakes here.
I know, but I was like, I'm already nervous already. This is.